Steve, Matthew Cotto from Blind Man's Puff.
Good to see you, my friend.
Nice to meet you.
Before you start, I want you to know I really love your guys' site. I like the way you do your reviews. I always find them interesting. It's one of the sites that I personally check out on a regular basis. And in fact, it's one of the most reliable review sites, the way you guys go about it. So I just want you to know that I like what you do. Even if I don't always get a great rating, I enjoy going and looking at it. So
thank you so much.
It's gentlemen across the country smoking your cigars in all areas. So it's, you know, we pretty much cover the whole spectrum right there. So for 2015, Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust came out with the Sabra Mesa. For 2016, what are your next ventures?
Well, you know, this year, obviously things are a little crazy because of the FDA, but I had intended on coming to the show with two primary things. I had intended coming to the show with a line extension on the Sabra Mesa, and the line extension for Sabra Mesa was more so just for my own personal necessity. I don't know, for what, 6 years, 7 years now, I pretty much smoke a dirty rat every morning with my espresso. That's my morning espresso cigar. And, well, I'm running out. You know, I've gone through them, and I'll be damned if I'm paying retail for stuff that I used to make. So so I took the Sabra Mesa blend and I made a short Churchill. It's like a 4 3/4 by 48, and I amped up the blend a little bit to give it a bit more intensity, so that I would now have a replacement cigar for me personally in the morning. And that's what this really is my personal replacement for that. I put it in a 14 count box. The reason why I did that is I think that, look, I'm not the first guy to put cigars sideways in a box. We all know that. I mean, Fuente's been doing it for years. I did it in Chateau Real when I was at Drew. But it also gives it a nice shelf presence for the retailer. You know, it kind of catches the eye because you have the vertical, everything's vertical, and then you got a little something horizontal in there. So, and it's in a 14 count box. To also make it a more box friendly purchase, you know, for a consumer to walk out the door with. And it's stronger. I call it Poca Más Intensa, which is really bad Spanish because it should be Poca Más Intenso. But no one will ever accuse me of being a good linguist. And it just means a little bit stronger. And so I've got that. And then in addition to that, I had intended on doing an Inciduros. And the reason why I did the Inciduros is because I just like cigars in cedar wrappers. I just think they're a beautiful presentation. So, and I decided to also make this blend in that same Poca Más Intensa kind of framework. I wanted to make it a little bit stronger. So, you know, there's a lot of guys that, you know, Sabra Mesa may be a little too soft for them. I find most of those guys tend to go towards the Cervantes and the Corona. I think those guys that are in those, they're gonna probably like to make the leap into these two sizes too, because it just adds a bit more oomph to the blend. Not crazy strong, you know what I mean? It's still not a strong cigar by any stretch, but it's definitely an octane level or so above, which makes the cigar a different tasting cigar, even though the core blend itself is still the traditional Sabra Mesa Liga. So those are the two Sabra Mesas that we're introducing here at the show. And then I ended up doing what everybody wanted me to do, which is a broadleaf cigar, you know, because, you know, Sabra Mesa, it's very refined and balanced and elegant and nuanced and all the things that I'm personally not. And everybody wanted me to just make a really dark and earthy and, you know, a bit fuller bodied and a little bit dirty in the finish kind of cigar, and that's what I ended up doing. I ended up making a broadleaf cigar called Mi Querida. Mi Querida, literal translation's my love, my dear, but it's not what it means. It means my mistress is what it actually means when they say it. In Nicaragua, it actually means something a little different, because Latino culture, look, I can't defend it, I can't explain it, but having a mistress is okay. So the wife will often know about a mistress, okay? And it's just part of the way it works socially. But a Mi Querida is not your mistress in Nicaragua. She's the mistress that your wife doesn't even know about. she's really the piece on the side is who the Mi Querida is. And that's kind of what, this broadleaf cigar is for me. It's kind of my dirty little secret, because it's not a refined cigar. It's, it's got a little bit more rough edge to it. And that's coming packaged in boxes of 20 cigars. 4 different sizes to start with, a 6x48, which is the strongest of them, 5x52, 6x52, and then a 6x56. The 6x56 is the mellower. I think that's the one you're smoking now, is the mellower one. I ended up doing it in a much more simplified package because I wanted to try to keep the price down. So the cigar ends up retailing out, and without taxes, $8 to under $10. To try to make it a more friendly purchase for a lot of folks. And look, I'm always biased. When I make a cigar, I make it for me. So I think they're fantastic. What I'm hoping is other guys will try it and they'll say, wow, that was pretty darn good, and they'll add it to their rotation. But ultimately, who really knows? You never know, but it seems to be doing really, really well at the show. What I want you to do is I want you to put that one down. I want you to smoke this size. Because I think this size is more in your wheelhouse.
Thank you.
Thank
you. With the so factory usage that you use for your first line for Sabra Mesa, are you still working with Hoya de Nicaragua?
Oh yeah, I'm going to work with Hoya de Nicaragua forever. I have a lot of other projects that I'm working currently with them on, but this particular project, I'm working with a factory that's far lesser known. It's called Nicaraguan American Cigar SA, NACSA, and NACSA has a history of being a really not that good factory. They primarily make economy style cigars, and part of the deal was they hooked me up with access to over $1.5 million worth of tobacco to make Sabra Mesa. And part of that quid pro quo is that I agreed that once I had finished Sabra Mesa over in Hoya, that I would come in with them at the NACSA factory and we would start to change the culture there and get them just changing the operations and the methodology and the standards and practices so that they could continue to make the economy price bundle cigars they make, but also get them to where they can make a really nice long filler handmade premium cigar. So really for the last year I've been working very, very closely with the factory, pretty much like 2 weeks a month, spending time there. And the Oliva Tobacco Company, not the Oliva Cigar Company, they're part owners of that factory. So they made the commitment along with the other partners to really, really revamp and try to change everything. And when I say revamp, I mean the old master cigar maker has been retired. All the people at the top have been, moved along. Everything at the supervisor and the production level staffing has been changed. And really, when it really comes down to what it takes to make good cigars, the primary ingredient in that is just being a dick. It's really what it is. It's about, hey, this is the way it absolutely must be done. Okay, and then expecting them to do that, and when they don't do that, to tear their heads off. Okay, and you tear their heads off once or twice, and if they still can't comply, you just say, Joe, you're gone. Go get another job, Jose, because you just don't have a place here. And I'm very good at being a dick. That's one of my prime skill sets. And so for me, it really wasn't that difficult to task. And I think that obviously when people first smoked Liga, they're familiar with Drew Estate, so they kind of like, really? This is from the Wacky Tobacco Company? It was like kind of shocking. It really changed people's perspective. Consumers are not familiar that NACSA is an economy bundle manufacturer. They don't know who NACSA is. They don't know that it's really this factory and what its reputation is. So the average consumer is not going to be surprised one way or the other. Who's surprised are the industry guys that are in Nicaragua. They're so familiar with the factory that they're the ones that are saying, wow, this is from NACSA? Really? They're having that kind of oh wow moment, because for them it's such a significant change in what the factory's been doing in the past. And it's really just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, we'll get them making Opus X grade cigars in a matter of a couple of years. but we will tool them up.
Visually,
Yeah.
it's a gorgeous cigar.
You think it's gorgeous? It's broadleaf. Broadleaf is always a little ugly. It's always a little veiny. It's always a little rough. And the other thing too is, you can get broadleaf to be prettier, but you got to almost always over ferment it. When you over ferment it, you're taking a lot of the flavor out, just trying to achieve an aesthetic, a color. And for me, that's far less relevant than the flavor. So I don't necessarily agree with you that I think it's a beautiful cigar. I think Sober Mesa is a beautiful cigar. I think this is a broadleaf cigar. This is what you're gonna get out of broadleaf, at this $8 to $10 price point. But what it is it's a very flavorful cigar. It's well made, and it draws, and it burns the way you expect. And a lot of guys that were expecting a certain genre from me, I think they're going to be very pleased with this particular smoke. But I could be wrong.
Your idea behind cellophane and with the SKUs to help retailers with distribution.
I'm a purist, so I personally would rather have no cellophane. But the reality of the situation is, all these retailers are putting POS systems in, so they're all having to add barcodes to cigars now. So they're printing out these little barcode labels. They're having to pull every cigar out of the box. They're trying to stick it on the band. They get half of it on the wrapper. It tears the wrapper. They damage so many cigars in the box. So why fight City Hall? You just can't do it. You're just making their lives more difficult. You're damaging cigars, and ultimately, just bite the bullet. And I accept the cellophane, and I accept the barcode. And the geek consumers like me, you buy the box, you take it home, and you strip the cellophane out, and we do what we've always done. But the reality of the situation is, you just can't really do it anymore. I mean, yeah, when you're Padron and every box sells at $550 because you're the hot thing, yeah, you can get away with it. When you're Liga Privada, you can get away with it. But the truth is, there's not a single retailer in the country that doesn't wish those cigars were also cellophane. It's just being pragmatic and accepting the realities of the situation.
Do you have any other new releases coming out of NASCA?
Yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do the Umbagog, which is a inexpensive bundle product, but it's not an inexpensively constructed cigar. They're gonna use the same standards and practices that they use to make Mi Querida. What it is because I own the broadleaf, it's gonna depend on the wrapper. So most of the Umbagogs they're just gonna simply be ugly cigars. Okay. Is what they're gonna end up being. I'm hoping there's not a lot of them, because for me, I don't really make a lot of money. So for me, ideally, like the Polon that I'm working out of now, maybe 20 to 22% of that capa will have to be made into Umbagogs. The two other Polons that I currently have fermenting, it's looking much cleaner. I'm hoping the number ends up being less than 3%. But ultimately, I won't really know until we start indexing and yielding out the tobacco on the production floor to actually know how many there will or won't be. In addition to that, I have, I'm doing a Muester to Saka, which is basically hopefully a once-a-year introduction of something, a totally different, unique blend. And out of that Muester series, I'm sure along the way, more than one of them will be made by the guys over there. I mean, but again, it all depends. I mean, this is in their hands. I mean, they're gonna have to make cigars that I'm happy with. And if I'm not happy with, then they won't be making cigars, and they're fully aware of that. The thing that's so good about it is they're really, really committed to the process, because they've seen the impact I've had on the previous factories I've made cigars in. So it's good. It's good to have a partner that's willing to be miserable.
Well, as the end consumer, we really appreciate it, the quality and the time you put into this.
Well, thank you.
So. Thank you very much. So
we'll talk all day.
With the Muestro de Saka.
Yeah.
Is that also broadleaf, or what's the lead?
No, well, the 375 Holland & Holland's broadleaf. There's a Nicaraguan one called Naka Tamale that's a Nicaraguan Puro. I've got a Lancero in it called #NTLHMA, which stands for Now Leave Me the Hell Alone. You know what I mean? Because everyone always asks me to Lanceros, but everyone that knows me knows I'm not a Lancero guy. So I got one that's in it that's Oro Verde, that's using Candela. I hate Candela, you know what I mean? So I wanted to see, can I make a cigar that's worth smoking out of Candela? Because I've had so few cigars in the last 30 years that were made out of Candela that I would ever smoke twice. In fact, I don't even know if I had one. So I wanted to see if I could do that, you know. And honestly, I don't know whether I did. You know, it's gonna take a little bit of time for me to wrap my brain around it still. So every single one of the Muestras is an individual, unique blend, you know, in a different size vitola that I think best emphasizes the flavor profile of that particular blend.
And then, is it a line extension, or are you coming out with a larger ring gauged cigar for the market?
You know, everybody, of course, is always asking me to make these giant cigars. I ended up making in the Mi Querida one called Más Sucia, More Dirty, in a 7x64. Look, it's not my genre, and it's actually the only cigar that I actually did not do all the blending myself. I actually got assistance from Raul Diesla, who's now the new master cigar maker at Noxa, and he vastly improved the work that I did. So he deserves all the credit in the world for that. And it turned out to be actually a very good cigar. You still feel like a gay porn star smoking it, but at least it tastes good, which is, in my opinion, a big improvement over almost all the massive ring gauge, because most of them I find just really boring and dull. You know what I mean? So the question is there a way to make one of these cigars that actually flavor profile is actually worth smoking, in my opinion? You know what I mean? Obviously, a lot of giant ring gauge cigars guys love, but I haven't found any that I personally love for the most part. So, and I brought it as a pre-order item at the show, just seeing if anybody would want it, and yeah, they want it. So guess what? I'm gonna make it, and we'll see how it goes. And also, it's the only cigar in the line that the price is stupid on. It's like $13.45 MSRP, where all the rest of the line is that $8 to $10. My attitude is, somebody wants that, they're gonna have to pay for it, because I don't really believe in it overall that it's a big thing for me. Because the question is, do the guys that smoke these large ring gauge cigars really want the extra value, dollar value? And if that's the case, then this is dead on arrival, because it's $13.45. But it took that amount of money to make one that's actually, in my opinion, worth smoking. So we'll see what happens with it. I don't know.
Steve, thank you very much, sir. I could talk for hours, but Blind Man's Buff, very, very much so appreciated. And what you're doing right now.
Check out Blind Man's Buff. I'm telling you, the best ratings anywhere on the net.